Call this meeting of Upshur Board of Education order. First order of business is to stand and say the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sugar, can we have the mission statement, please?
The mission of the Upshur County Schools is to provide academic preparation, social responsibility, employability, and a desire of lifelong learning.
Thank you. Please let the clerk note that all members are present with the exception of Dr. Almond and Mrs. Loudon. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda and/or agenda adjustments.
I do have some changes in personnel. If you look at item K, we had a mistake where we have the resignation under 3 of Mary Hawkins from secretary to French Creek to, and she's going, actually a transfer from French Creek to Fred Everly as secretary. And also, we are taking off item 14 under employment. That's all I have.
And I'd like to make a motion that we move delegations in front of personnel.
I'll second that.
And I would also request an executive session before personnel. So we would have delegations, executive session, and then personnel.
All right, so we have a motion. Second both of those?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Does that suffice for the entire approval of the agenda? With those changes, correct? Okay. Next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from the May 23rd meeting. That is your attachment A.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next item on the agenda are the acknowledgements and announcements. Upshur highlights.
Okay. I would like to inform the board that I received a letter 2 days ago from the, actually it's called the Intermediate Unit 1 from Pennsylvania, which is like a RISA in Pennsylvania that has been teaming up with our RISA 6 and RISA 7, which is our RISA, and the Claude Worthington Benedum Foundation and Chevron for innovation grants to improve the STEM science, engineering, math, all those subjects. And that Gabby Rhodes from Union Elementary was granted a $5,000 grant. And and I don't have the particulars of it yet, but it was called GEMS, Girls Excelling in Math and Science. And we're acknowledging to the intermediate unit in Pennsylvania that she will accept that grant. And we'll get more information on it as I get more information. I just want to let you know.
I know that they have been active this year. I know they have been doing some things, this group. I've seen some posts about it.
And that's it.
All right, thank you. Unfinished business, item 7.
Oh my. No good news at the middle school.
No good news?
We have good news.
Okay.
I thought you said no. I thought you said no.
Whoa.
Now that I have your attention. No, the good news is the crew has, they've roughed in all the water lines, hot water lines, the feed and the return line. Both lines have passed the pressure test. They hope to drain the current line and make the connections tomorrow. And then at that point, problem solved.
Good. Perfect.
Yes, so that's good news. Unfortunately, at Rock Cave, we've identified some areas where the roofing is delaminating. And Sutter Roofing out of Clarksburg was there today examining it, and he believes it's a failure of the product. So we'll just have to wait for that report and see, but it's under warranty. That roof has a 10-year warranty, so
When did we put that on?
2 years ago, I believe.
Okay.
Wow.
The lights at the middle school are completed, but the power company, I don't think they have yet energized them at the softball field. However, with that being said, the West Virginia National Guard is going to be doing some excavating up at the softball field and getting rid of some dips and leveling it out, and so the field will be unusable, you know. Anyways, they're supposed to start sometime this month, so, you know, just whenever they show up with their equipment. And let's see, we received reports from BRIM, which is the Board of Risk and Insurance Management, and our schools average 90 to 92% as far as compliance and just little things, so that's good news. And of course, they always give us a list of things to correct. And they used a company out of Boston this time, and so there's a lot of things that we do that they indicated, like some of our pressure valve checks on our sprinkler systems and things such as that. Obviously, they weren't marked or whatever to their liking, so, you know, just minor corrections, but we're doing everything we're supposed to do. One of the things that we're going to have to do, which is a surprise, and Mr. Carver and I are scratching our heads, we have to put a fire hydrant in up at Rock Cave. We don't have a fire hydrant within 500 feet of the school. And unless it's covered up somewhere, I mean, we've looked, we haven't seen it. So that's something we're going to have to do this summer. And when was Rock Cave opened? 72?
No,
Before
before that.
then?
I first started.
Real?
Yeah, I was there. It
So,
was new then.
you know, we're looking at a building almost, 50 years old, and now, we need to put in a fire hydrant. So, it's
Has
just an
the,
interesting thing.
Public service water going all the way that direction?
Mhm.
So it shouldn't be an issue.
The last contact I had with, and it could be, because there's a 6-inch line that runs by there, but it's all dependent upon the amount of pressure in the line. So it'll have to meet the pressure requirements for a fire hydrant. So we're working on that, and we hope to have that completed before the kids return. And we'll have to purchase the hydrant, but I think the installation will be at no charge. So, and that's all I have as far as facilities at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from Mr. Rare? All right. Moving on to financials. Payment of bills, your attachment B, and the budgetary items, attachment C. Anybody have any questions about any of that? Mr. Carver is here and he'd be happy to answer them.
This is our last chance to do budget adjustments and still get those approved by the State Board of Education. There's a number of them. There's some supplements for grants we received that didn't have been done, where we just received the grant. There's a number of transfers to take funds that we didn't spend and transfer it to line items that we overspent to try to get those cleaned up. Also looking at it from a viewpoint of what the financial statements might look like at the end of the year. There's a schedule in the financial statement package that's a comparison to budget, and I try to make sure that doesn't have negative amounts in total, which summarizes a number of individual items. Also, the financial statements for May are consistent with what we've been seeing. We're running behind last year's expenditures. Between now and the end of June, we'll be running 5 separate payrolls because a lot of our employees choose to have their pay deferred and get checks in July and August, but we actually process all those and get done in the current fiscal year. We just release them throughout the summer as those dates come up. But those numbers get included in the financial statements. So we've got to wait 60 days after the end of the fiscal year for additional revenues to come in and other invoices to show up that we're waiting on, and we include those in the financial statements as well. So started a busy work period for me to get the year closed out and start the new year.
Any questions about any of those?
Thank you, Mr. Carver.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. If not, can I have a motion to accept those as presented?
Motion to accept the items as presented.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And you talked about the financial reports in that statement, correct?
Yes.
Item 9 on the agenda, the consent agenda. Attachment E, out-of-county transfers. Attachment F, school bus transportation for the Ted Harriman Forest Industries Camp. Trip drivers for the next school year. And a request from Buchanan Upshur High School Educators Rising to travel to Arizona to compete in the national conference. Any questions about any of those? Do you have anything you want to add, Mr. Ranger?
No, they've raised the money for the Educators Rising students to travel. Students that fundraising, I believe.
We're okay with her transporting if a parent doesn't?
I'm not sure how to get, I don't know if they're flying, I really don't know.
Well, the letter says.
does it? I'm sorry.
They'll be flying from Columbus and parents are transporting their children there. But if a parent is not able to transport, she's asking permission to transport. We've allowed that previously, correct? Okay. That's all, just want to make sure.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Now, is she still limited to 2? Is it 2 or 3?
2.
I think they changed the code, didn't they? If they transporting their students.
I think parents can only transport 2.
They
I
can
don't know if it's the
transport
same
2.
for teachers.
Mhm.
Is it the same for
Yeah,
teachers?
I think so.
Okay.
They can transport their own child plus one.
Plus 1.
If the parent writes letters saying that's okay.
Just wanted to be sure.
Do we need to specify when we approve this that, you know,
Oh, we'll have that conversation.
okay.
Okay. Motion approved.
Second?
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 10, correspondence and information.
Already.
Okay.
So,
Item 11, discussion and possible action regarding the employee attendance incentive policy.
The policy that you passed for this year has language in it that requires affirmative board action to approve it going forward. We still need to wait till we process those other payrolls to see who's going to qualify for the bonus, and I hope to have that for you early in July. But I just wanted to try to get a sense of whether you want to continue the policy as it is, or whether you'd be open to proposals to tweak it in some way, or if you...
Do you have suggestions as we've done this 1 year?
I believe it had an impact, but I think it would have a greater impact if we changed it from just having no absences in the year to also including something to encourage accumulation of sick days over a long period of time. And I'll try to give you a couple options for that, but I just wanted to start the discussion. We'll put it on some future agendas for discussion, and maybe give you a couple of drafts of different policies.
Well, we know that attendance was down. That attendance was up.
Absences were-
Absences were down. So that's a positive.
Yes.
We stayed within, we think we're staying within the range of the money that we discussed.
Yeah, in fact, I think actually less people qualified this year than what we estimated would have qualified last year based on last year's attendance, so
Okay.
it's kind of counterintuitive to what you would expect, but,
Right.
Mhm.
But some people
But,
have
yeah.
yeah.
done well and taken advantage of
But
it.
I think what else is, once since it said 0 absences, once they got that 1 absence, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think that's where Mr. Carver's talking about some kind of incentive for, you know,
The sick day
one
accumulation.
absence or 2 absences, as opposed to just no absences. Because it's hard, you know, it's,
And we had talked about the incentive last year, and I think the flaw in what we proposed was that it favored more experienced employees, and there was nothing in it for newer employees. And I think that's where we need to try to focus, is to get people in their first 5 or 10 years to accumulate days, as opposed to people who've already been here 30 years and already have 200 sick days.
Right.
So we'll try to come up with a way to encourage that and build that into the policy and see
So
if you approve it.
you would be interested in hearing what he has to say and moving forward with a policy if that's,
Sure.
okay. So when you get those numbers and you come up with something that you think might work, if you'll bring it back, put it on another agenda.
Okay.
I don't know
Thank
how
you.
hard it would be to find the data for like comparing employees who had, you know, multiple absences last year as opposed to this year, if we saw a decrease in those, you know, employees.
I know we can do it, it's just a question how much time
How
it
much
will
effort,
take,
yeah,
but
okay.
Sarah Wills is good at loading lots of data into spreadsheets and.
I was gonna say, yeah, loading it into Excel. I
And
know you
and
can
running
get-
comparisons,
yeah.
so I'll talk with her and
Okay.
and Stephanie
If
has
it's
some
not
good
too much trouble,
understanding of the reports that are available, and
Yeah.
between the 3 of us, we might be able to come up with something that won't take a tremendous amount of time that will give us that, so we'll
Okay.
take a shot at that.
great, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Item 12, approval of the board meeting schedule for 2017-18. You have that as your attachment I.
it's pretty much the same as we've had. The only difference is that I asked that we've always had the same schools hosting the LSIC and faculty senate reports, so we kind of flipped them. Like you've been going to Rock Cave every year for that, so this year it's going to be French Creek
Right.
and Washington instead of Union, and high school instead of the middle school. So just to give the other schools, and not put all that on one school
Right.
every year.
And we are in the other schools though as well.
Right.
The
Oh, yeah.
regular meetings, okay.
Mhm.
I really like going out to the schools.
Mhm.
All right. Do I have a motion to accept the board meeting schedule as presented?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 13, approval of lease agreement with Fred Everly Technical for the use of the building for the alternative school. That would be your attachment J.
And that is the same as it's been for many, many years, so. Just standard.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, so the switch we made in the agenda, it is time for delegations, public comments. Do you want this to be in executive session or in public session? If it occurs in public session, no names.
Yeah,
If names are mentioned, we'll have to go into executive session,
Right.
so.
I
So you
understand.
want public?
yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I have no problem with that.
All right, so
Well, can I say my name?
you can.
Thank you. My name's Paula Snyder. I work at Union Elementary School. I've worked in the system for a few, well, approximately 10 years. I've talked to each one of you board members with the exception of, I believe it was just your wife, that we spoke. I'm here to talk about the Buchanan Upshur High School basketball coaching position. I'm not here to talk about who was hired. I'm talking about our students in Upshur County. I would like for our Board of Education, which I know that our superintendent, our assistant superintendent, they work for you all. I understand that. And I'm here to ask you to postpone this until you can take a further look at the name that's going to be presented to you this evening. The reason is I believe that there's some controversy on that. There's some things that you need to look into as a board. There's some, I would hope that this would end tonight, I really would, but I don't see that coming to an end this evening. I wish it would, but I don't see that. But for our kids in Upshur County, that I have lived here all of my life. I've played basketball. I've been a high school All-American here. I went to Glenville State on a basketball scholarship. Our family has been here. And I'm not looking for a family member to be hired. I'm looking for whoever is the best at the position. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the best one to give back to our kids. If there is not a doubt in my mind, that, and we all know it as we're sitting here, that Upshur County is infested with a drug problem. And I know from, I worked this year at, for Stockard Youth at Buddy and Me. I know that feeds into a bigger program with Stockard Youth. I know it feeds into the middle school. The middle school takes it from there and feeds into the high school. I really believe that we need to take a look, not for a coach, but for somebody that's going to do the best that for our students, for our kids, to give them an option, to give them something back in this community that we have neglected to give them for the last 4 or 5 years as far as in high school. We've asked for a new face in Upshur County. There's a lot of new faces out there, a lot of people that are old faces that have given a lot to this community, and they deserve to be looked at. They deserve it for our kids that are trying to find something to set them apart, to give them an opportunity in the future. That's what needs to be looked at. And I'm asking you tonight, as board members that work for our Upshur County, I am a proud member of Upshur County Board of Education. I love my students wherever it may be. Mr. Reed, we're friends on that part, and Miss Mindy, wherever that may be. And I believe the last letter that I wrote to you, I said to you and her that I will give 100% because I care that much about my kids.
We know that.
And that's what I'm asking you to do. And I'm asking you to give 100% to these kids that have worked so hard. You know, I worked, as I stated, I worked this year with Buddy and Me, a little program of 3 and 4 year olds. And for the parents that came over and said, thank you for working with my child, because you know what, you're giving them something that's going to keep them out of trouble. I want to give them something that's going to keep them out of trouble. I see drugs every day in kids and families, and our sports system has been not something that we can brag about, and I'm sorry to say that. Our soccer has been, our basketball has not been. Through no fault, and I'm not blaming Mr. Reynolds, I'm not blaming Mr. Vincent, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm blaming ourselves because we haven't taken a look at what's really needed in this county. And I want what's best for our county, I want best for our kids. And I ask you this evening to do what you have to do, and postpone it. Basketball doesn't start till November. The 3-week program started yesterday. It wasn't very much of a success. We have until November. Please take a look. If it is Joe Schmo from South Carolina and he's going to give the most to our kids, that's what we need. And I'm asking you all just this evening, take a moment, talk to each other, postpone it, set the recommendation aside, and take a look what's best for our kids. Thank you very much for your time.
So you want to make a motion?
I make a motion, we go in executive session.
Second?
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?